Oh, you're all right, we have got folks logging in. So welcome everybody. You will see I'm in a new location today, which I'll be sharing with my camera. Why? Because it's kind of a fun story. I always usually like to stay a few minutes late, so we're going to let people continue to pop in. Because of this, you're not going to get to hear my standard Swedish House Mafia background music, which I love to play for the people before the meetings start. But that's okay, because I'm going to flip my camera around at some point and show you what I'm looking at, which is a pretty cool scene. We are on site today at Waukesha County Technical College, who just unveiled a brand new esports arena. So we are at the grand opening of that facility, which is super cool. So thank you all for being here. Got a few familiar faces and a lot more coming in as we go, which is super exciting. James O'Hagan from League Spot, always a pleasure to see you, sir, plus the rest of the crew. So we'll keep letting folks in here.
It's not just the rest of the crew. Come on.
It's a whole squad, Jo. All right. So we're coming in fast. So I will turn around my camera for a moment just so you can all see, because you're earliest to it. But as I mentioned, WCTC right outside of Waukesha, technical college out here, they have been through an 18-month journey of getting their facility up to speed, which is really cool. There's a lot of universities, we're up to 30 now in the state of Wisconsin that have a program, which is very cool. So they are the latest, I would say, to open up. And as you can see, pretty cool. So they've got, I think, 24 PCs. There's some room over here as well. But as you can see, I'll try to keep the camera from being too seasick. It's well attended, a lot of media outlets here, and probably, I would have to guess, playing 30-some students. So it's just one of those things where, particularly in this line of work, you go to a lot of virtual meetings, and it is really cool to be in person at an esports facility grand opening. So we just thought we would take this opportunity to be on site. Why not, when something cool like this is happening? So hopefully you can all hear me. I don't have my official microphone and doing the sort of host thing, but we've got a really cool lineup today, and just excited to sort of be with everyone. So I will just, as usual, give just a short intro as to kind of some of the things that are going on here at the Alliance, because there's a lot happening for our organization as well as so many around the state. So I always like to kind of give a quick update on that. Hopefully what you will see in front of you is a phenomenal little PowerPoint slide. So I have to give a huge shout out to Software One, who sponsors these community Zooms, amidst companies like Spectrum, Terra Localizations, others that are local to the community, who support and provide incredible resources to make things like this happen. Software One is really up among that group. If you're not familiar with them, they do technology for companies all over the country and the world. Huge partner to Microsoft, just moved their headquarters to the Third Ward downtown Milwaukee. So I just want to give a huge shout out to them and say thank you, because they are some of the groups that help make content like this happen. If you're new, a few of you I know on the call, and then others, sometimes it's your first time. Just as a reminder, our organization, the Milwaukee Esports Alliance, our mission is just to do the things that are on the screen. We feel there's an opportunity with the incredible growth of esports to continue to bring people together, not just from Southern Wisconsin, but really the state as a whole. And so we're very excited to continue serving that need for the community. We're going to hear today for some friends at MPS, but also we want to make sure, because gaming is so accessible, that people do have access to it. So we work as diligently as possible to try to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to play if they would like to. And we have incredible partners around the state that do that. And, part of our mission is just to lead advocacy for the state of Wisconsin, for RFPs, for national tournaments, for grant funding, you name it, right? We're trying to be out there on the front line, telling a story of the why here for our region. So just a little bit kind of about what we strive to accomplish. So last month or, two in the past quarter, some pretty cool things have been happening. So one of the things that we're very excited about is we have recently, I would say, partnered or brought under our umbrella an entity called the Wisconsin Collegiate Rocket League. It's now in its 5th season. They do spring and fall seasons. But we try to really help them because we're very bullish on the opportunity for local esports leagues, something like our Wisconsin High School Esports Association and others, to provide just an incredible community resource, and they do. And so we've been really grateful to help partner alongside them and hopefully give them some resources to grow. 15 universities, 44 teams, that's a record for participation, and 132 competitors in this fall season, which is really exciting. So we're just excited about WCRL's growth and being a part of it, and excited to kind of see how this fall season will kick off. 44 teams is a lot. So shout out to the team that's kind of helping run that. Because it is mostly a volunteer squad that puts this on and has continued to grow it. So that's been very exciting. Hopefully you may have seen on the news, but Cream City Convergence is in 2 weeks. That is a partnership between ourselves, the Milwaukee Bucks, Bucks Gaming, and then 2 local tournament organizer groups, one from Milwaukee, one from Madison, working to put on the state's first major esports tournament. So this is going to be something happening at the Baird Center downtown. We've got 63,000 square feet to fill. But so far we've had incredibly strong registration, which is super helpful. And it's going to be a really cool year one event either way. So if you want to see what a major esports tournament looks like, this would be a great chance to come and check it out. So there's going to be a lot of game players there. It's an FGC event for those familiar, fighting game community, as well as Smash Bros, which is a really strong title around the state. And so very excited for that. You may have seen it. We're also participating. I saw Jen is on from Filament and the Wisconsin Games Alliance. We're doing a panel discussion on October 19th at Godfrey and Kahn, downtown Milwaukee, that Better Play, a local game development studio here, is putting on. So very excited about that. If you're interested in hearing and seeing some of what's going on around the state, we're going to be joined by some of the state's leaders in both game development and esports, which is always a fun collaboration. We also did recently, not publicly announced, but I'll give you guys a sneak preview. So the 2024 Wisconsin Esports Summit is coming back. Very exciting. So that's going to be on March 11th. Tentatively right now, it is slated for March 11th. Should still be the same venue, UWM Panther Arena. And so we're really excited to build upon the attendance for last year and just the incredible excitement we felt that built. And we had very positive reviews from people who were part of it last year. So we're excited to bring that back. We'll continue to make it meaningful for the attendees, i.e. we're going to cap it versus just letting it be unbridled thousands of people, because we want to make sure that you all are able to enjoy and make meaningful connections, because that's what this is about today. And that's what that's about in the spring. So those have been some of our biggest projects. It leads us into our first guest on this last bullet here, something we've been very excited about. I think I prefaced it last meeting with some exciting news, but one of the very cool partnerships this year that we've been grateful to be a part of is with Norvado, who is a telecom provider up in northern Wisconsin. And they are very thoughtful about all of the ways, I would say, that they are trying to advance their business and advance their community. It's been really fun to see. This year, they had the opportunity to think charitably in a way that included esports. And so they recently were the givers of a $25,000 grant to high schools that had a chance to apply up in the northern part of Wisconsin. We have Evan Evanson, who is here with us today from Phillips High School. They were the recipient of that funding. So I'm going to stop my screen share because we're going to have Evan come on and just talk a little bit about Evan. You received $25,000 to get an esports facility going. It's been pretty exciting. Maybe let folks know how that's been, what's been going on, and just kind of give an update of your program.
Okay, well, thank you very much. My name's Evan Evenson. I coach and teach up here in Phillips. We're in the Northwoods, about an hour from the nearest Walmart, to give you an indication of how rural our district is. And I'm just really honored to be able to talk to you, because we're about to elevate our second-year esports team to another level, thanks to the generosity of Norvado. So our team started last year, and we started basically from nothing. Our new principal brought it with him from his old district, and thankfully entrusted me with being the coach. And we have been borrowing computers in somebody else's classroom. I have to ask the janitor to let us in. And it's kind of been an uphill battle, but fortunately these kids are so awesome, and this means so much to them that we made a success of it. And when we got this grant from Norvado, those kids deserve it so much. I was so happy for them. Plus, like, if you ever open an email that says that you're being awarded $25,000, that's a pretty good day too. But and so the grant, we have been receiving some of the money so far, or we've received the money, and with the help of Norvato and Spectrum Furniture and Insight and the Milwaukee Esports Alliance, we've placed our orders. We have about half of the stuff. We're going to do 8 gaming PCs and 10 desks and chairs, including handicap accessible. And we're going to be getting our own space. We have to share it a little bit, but and it's just so cool what this is going to mean for our team. Our players, we've got about 15 players on our team. And I'm sure you guys all know, especially those of you involved at the high school level, how much this creates a community. Not like how it can take freshmen that would have never spoken to a senior or a junior, right, and bring them together. And how it's bringing these kids that probably wouldn't have gotten involved in other sports. And now for the first time, they're feeling school pride. Like they like wearing the school colors and representing the team. This is so cool. And now we're going to have the equipment that can let us show off a little bit, right, to try to bring the rest of the community in. And we hope to be streaming soon. And I don't know, it's been really great. And the future's looking bright. And so if I could, once again, I want to thank Norvato, especially for the generosity. Actually, the cool thing about Norvato, it was a $25,000 grant. And I submitted our proposal, or they sent us the quote, and it looked like we wouldn't afford it. And so I had to pare it down. I had to get rid of the things that we didn't quite need. And somehow, I think in a group email, Norvato heard about that. And they said, no, we want you to have the things that you need for this. And so that $25,000 grant became a $35,000 one, just because they're so stoked about helping out esports in our area. And I've spoken with Leo from Norvato. He's looking for more schools to do this with in the future. And we're going to have something formidable up in the Northwoods, I think, pretty soon. So thank you to Norvato. I want to thank Spectrum Furniture and Insight and Brandon and the rest of the Milwaukee Esports Alliance. And I don't know. I'm encouraged by how many people are here today. This is awesome. Like, shows that esports is in good hands, and I'm excited to be part of this movement.
Cool. Well, we're excited for you. It's been exciting to see the blueprints start from just, a couple pictures of a back room and a hope to now seeing, equipment be delivered. And thank you for sharing the story. And I think one of the cool things is that, like this community and those that watch it on record, like you're not alone, which I always have felt like is one of the greatest parts about hopefully what our organization provides, as well as so many of the leaders on the call, is because even once the facility is there, you'll be leading it and we'll be in need of resources and people to help you continue along the journey, right? And so we're very excited for you, and congratulations. And definitely, feel free, if you want, drop your email in the chat. Sometimes it's a great way for people to connect afterwards. Who may be saying, hey, we've got resources or we've got considerations. I know like we've already gotten you connected to Mike Dahl, but just know that we're here to support you, and congrats, man. It's very cool.
All right, thank you very much.
Cool. All right, so kind of building upon that success, something that has been a really cool, I think something that is a long time coming and something that has been hoped for many years was the growth of esports at Milwaukee Public Schools. And so I'm going to actually have a couple gentlemen come on here who actually, this might be the first time that I've had a repeat guest on a Zoom. I'm not sure, but I know Gabi came on one time last year. I think Zach may have as well. But we're going to have the guys who have been, I would say, at the helm, along with Andrew Rosa and many others, I should say, but really at the leadership helm of the Milwaukee Public Schools movement. And so they've had some really cool updates since we last talked to them. And I think as the state's largest school district, it's important to keep an eye on, because people that influence me from Spectrum and others that have a national viewpoint, I've learned that where the biggest school districts scholastically in the country move, other school districts then follow. And so I think it is a really important thing, the work that they're doing, not only for equity and access, but really just for the state of Wisconsin to continue to embrace this opportunity. So I was hoping to have them come on and just share some of the infrastructure growth, because they have put incredible work into actually putting labs into schools. So I want to hear them update that. And then they're also working on a very cool project aside. So Gabi, Zach, welcome, friends. Good to see you again. They're in an adjacent room to me at WCTC. So I know a few people have joined since, but we're at the WCTC grand opening. They didn't want to squeeze in this tiny room with me, but they are on site here today enjoying as well. So welcome, fellas, and let us know what's going on.
Brandon, well, thank you so much for that introduction. To kind of just regurgitate what you had just said. Yeah, my name is Gabi Olmedo, and I am the esports program manager for Milwaukee Recreation and MPS under the tutelage of Andrew Rosa, who I believe is in this call. So about a year and a half ago, there was a call for action to implement after-school programming, and Andrew saw that esports was something that was on the up and up, and so he was tasked to find a crew that could facilitate the project. And luckily enough, my background brought me here. I was a content creator, content manager for a professional esports player in 2021, 2022. And that just opened the door for me to help the local scene. I grew up in Milwaukee. I always had a heart to give back to the community. And so the opportunity opened up to be part of Milwaukee Recreation, who is vast and wide in programming. And so together with my colleague here, who I'll let take over here in a second, have been implementing esports at the high school level and now at some of the middle school and soon to be elementary school level. So a large task at hand, but between our team here, I think we've done a great job up until this point to really, build that structure, build that foundation. And so with that, I'll let Zach introduce himself and kind of give you the updates from our last meeting that Andrew mentioned that we were in, which feels like not too long ago, but Zach would kind of run through all those bullet points.
Yep. Hey, everybody, chiming in from WCTC, like Brandon. We are not in the cool room. We are outside, but it's pretty nice out here, and there's a fountain nearby just to give you some vibes. The grand opening was really cool. Ribbon cutting ceremony was really awesome. The leaders here at the school said that they want to set the benchmark for community colleges and higher ed campuses around the region. I think they did a really great job. Hopefully we'll have a chance to partner with them, bringing MPS students here. And also excited, I didn't realize we were your first repeat guests. So I think I'll expect a WWF championship belt or something to hold on to until somebody else can take it away from us. But I'm just going to take a couple minutes to rattle through some highlights of where we've been since our last talk. And then hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for question and answer at the end. But just to give folks some context who aren't really familiar with Milwaukee Public Schools, Brandon said this, we are the largest district in the state, close to 75,000 students, primarily students of color. Most students, over 80% actually, are considered economically disadvantaged or below the poverty threshold. 20% of students qualify for some type of special education services, and nearly 20% of students are English language learners, meaning that English is not their first language. So just to kind of set the stage there for folks that aren't familiar with the demographics of MPS, I wanted to lay that out. I also want to say that it's kind of safe to assume that the average student in MPS doesn't have access or easy access to professional grade esports equipment outside of school. So we take a lot of pride in the work that we've been doing and bringing access and equity. Brandon, you mentioned this too, to the students of MPS. And we really do hope to be a benchmark or a model for other districts around the state, so we can continue competing and raising the quality of esports everywhere. Let me see here. So again, small but mighty team with Gabi and myself, but we've actually had the benefit of working with 2 interns this year. We did a collaboration with UWM, University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where we selected 2 students who had computer science or related field to join our team, and they've helped us with building a lot of infrastructure, helping us with logistics and in terms of league play. And actually, both of them served as interns for coaches that were running programs at schools. So they actually got an opportunity to be in schools a couple times a week and participate in competitions and things like that and learn that way. So yeah, it's been great having those extra hands on deck. But now I'm going to rattle off some of the.
I was going to say, maybe speak to, because I think the thing that's been not the most impressive, but something I'm incredibly impressed by is you had a really difficult task. I think at one point we talked about like there's 34 different middle school or high schools, or maybe more, but you had a task to implement programs, labs, facilities, add a number of those. Can you maybe just speak to that? Because I think, again, like that to me has been just an incredible Lions effort that you guys have made.
Yeah, that's a perfect transition to what I wanted to talk about next. So I'm glad you brought that up. So together over the last year or so, at least since we last checked in on a call, we have outfitted nearly 20 schools with professional gaming equipment. And again, that includes gaming desks from Spectrum, gaming chairs, console hubs, consoles, soft shell gaming furniture, monitors, PCs, and our favorite thing to build, shoutcasters, which is actually kind of challenging. On average, each esports lab in school has been outfitted with about a $24,000 worth of professional grade esports equipment, which again, I outlined earlier. Most of the kids who go to MPS probably wouldn't have access to that stuff otherwise. And also to give you some perspective, when I say like 18 or 20 schools, that is almost every single school, every single high school in Milwaukee Public Schools. There's a couple that we haven't made contact with that need to come along a little bit further, but just to give you in terms of like our reach, it's basically all the high schools, and we want to focus more on middle school and, like Gabi mentioned, eventually elementary school, so we can kind of have that pipeline, and then hopefully connect with some higher education institutions like here at WCTC, you know, to help get our students connected to the next level. We recruited and installed coaches at just about every school, although we do have we have had movement among schools, and that does happen year to year just because that's a natural thing that happens in schools. So that's an ongoing process. In a recent survey that we sent out this fall to coaches, most coaches reported having about 15 students that are regularly attending esports labs at their school. So that means collectively, all the schools I just mentioned, that's almost 300 students that are visiting esports labs on a regular basis, which we think is a pretty huge accomplishment going back to last year where we had a couple clubs running and some were just kind of doing stuff on their own with their own equipment. And then
let me just pause you there for 1 second, because I just want people to understand 20 high schools outfitted is I can't even find the words, and I'm never at a loss for words, and how difficult a task that is. So I just want to like give them, I mean, you just heard from Evan, right? That's a school, and it takes so much effort, a team, many people to put in a facility. So the work that Zach and Gabi and their team have done along with Andrew is nothing short of a miracle. And it is so incredibly exciting because, as James is mentioning, there was none just a couple of years ago, and now there are many. And so we just could not be more proud of you guys and thankful for the work you've put in, because it's not sexy stuff. It's not easy stuff. It's not just like, you know, I think people sometimes look at like what I'm showing today at WCTC, and you see the computers, you see it all glorious and it's after, but in the middle, in the building, in the figuring out the IP and figuring out the internet, figuring out networking, it's ugly. So I just want to give you guys such a shout out for that. And then maybe if we can, because we don't have too much time left, but talk about the way you're thinking about now that you've got that uptick, which is again, incredible. You guys have been something I'm very excited about. You've been thinking about kind of curating almost like a small league, right? Because we have the high school league, but you guys are thinking about ways to engage those kids. Maybe speak to that quickly as we conclude.
Yeah, perfect transition to how I want to wrap up here. So again, we play with the idea of having high schools within MPS competing with each other, similar to how like, you know, traditional football teams or basketball teams within the district will play against each other. But we're not there yet because some schools have, you know, had clubs that have been going since last year or even before we started building infrastructure. Some are just getting on the ground this year where they, you know, the rooms just got set up. We just installed a coach and they're still trying to, you know, promote awareness and, you know, of the club. So what we're going to do is what we started last year, but the same this year with more. So we're going to continue to promote and spread awareness about esports in the district. And we're going to introduce all students to new esports resources in their school. And our goal is really to get schools ready and prepare them to compete in established leagues like WeShaw with Mike. We had 2 teams that competed in Rocket League last year with WeShaw, and now we're anticipating 9 teams this year. So we're going to, you know, that's a pretty big jump from year to year, but we expect that trajectory to keep going up. And that's a well-run league, so we feel very confident in our role just being, hey, we're providing you the resources, we're providing you the coaches, we're providing you the connections to compete on a serious level. And so that's going to be our focus for the short term. And then we're also going to be, we are actually going to do some of our own tournaments. It's kind of be like a pilot or, you know, our first time doing it with Mario Kart. And I think we have at least 9 schools that are going to be participating. And we're kind of playing with different ways of how the tournament could go, but it's kind of going to model what we're working with right now is kind of like a spelling bee, where like kids will compete within their school and then have qualifiers, and then eventually we'll have schools compete against other schools, and have several tournaments, maybe like monthly tournaments, and maybe culminating in some kind of championship, maybe where it's hosted at like a WCTC or a Bryant Stratton or something like that. So we're excited about that moving forward. And then once we kind of master the flow of that, then I think we'll start introducing more games where we have Mario Kart, probably Rocket League, FIFA is one we talked about, NBA 2K. And then we also want to support and connect students to any way that they can compete. I know Milwaukee Bucks have a couple of NBA 2K clinics coming up. So we are going to try to work and find some funding so we can support students who show a lot of potential in NBA 2K, who can go and represent MPS there. So again, that's kind of our focus right now. Is we built the infrastructure, we're building awareness. I can't emphasize this enough. There's still a lot of shock and awe when kids walk past the room. You know, there's still a lot of disbelief that video games are in school and it's open and they're not hiding it. So there's still, we're still going through some of those growing pains before it becomes normal to be doing esports in school. So yeah, we're excited to kind of push that along, continue to legitimize it, spread awareness, build champions within each school who are supporters of the program, and then obviously connect regionally, statewide, you know, calls like this to just find more opportunities to bring opportunity and access to our students. And I think like you mentioned earlier, Brandon, we want folks to, we want to be a model. Eventually we want to be a model for the state because we do have the resources, and continue to feed off each other. And I'll wrap it up there, but I do want to say, I appreciate the kind words you said about us, some of the slogging work of putting this stuff together, but I think Gabby and I we made it kind of sexy, you know, like we did what we could.
I love that. No, well, thank you both for just bringing us up to speed. There's a reason you're our two-time champ participants, because it's meaningful work, it's impactful work, and it's hard work. So just thank you for your team. Thanks for being willing to share, because I know not only myself, but so many around the community are watching what's going on there. We're watching to see how can this go, the same way that the country is watching what's going out at LA and New York, because I know a number of their bigger school districts are now investing in esports heavily, right? And so a lot of movement in the scholastic and collegiate realm. And so awesome work. Appreciate you guys being willing to join, and hopefully I'll catch you out here. Maybe we could actually play a game or something, you know, like, I don't know, maybe we'll get after it. Good stuff. All right, fellas, appreciate you. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you to them. And I appreciate, you know, so now you've gotten to hear a little bit. I always enjoy that's the scholastic side, both at Phillips, some of the stuff at MPS. I always am so appreciative of our question for the community time. We have a really good guest today who's going to talk a little bit about his organization to start, because I think they do incredible work, and it's always helpful to just learn, as you've seen from past guests in this segment, the world that they occupy. And then we had the chance to connect. His name is Josh Soba, Executive Director for Wisconsin USO. We had a chance to connect probably a year ago at this point, and have just been doing some brainstorming, right? When you hear about what their organization does and the mission they serve, I think you'll see there's a connectivity, as so many times there is with gaming. But we've just kind of been brainstorming, what could this mean? And whenever I have a question I don't have the answer to, with an organization that's doing incredibly cool stuff, I try to bring it to the community because you guys are infinitely smarter and well-connected and have always great ideas for ways to kind of, you know, help out an organization. So we've got Josh today. Welcome, sir. Always good to see your face. Yeah, start us off. Tell us a little bit about Wisconsin USO, because I think that's a really cool story for those that may not be familiar with what you guys do.
Sure. So thanks for having me, first of all. And it's been great hearing about all the other things that you guys and everyone's doing in the community revolving around gaming. So for those of you who don't know, USO stands for United Service Organizations. And basically, we support military and their families throughout the world. Wherever there's military, there's a USO. So we have a big presence, obviously, in South Korea, Japan, Europe, and with a lot of military moving troop movements towards Eastern Europe. That's where a lot of USO movement has been as well. But we're in South America, Africa. I mean, everywhere where there's a service member, there's someone from the USO. Right here in Wisconsin, we have had a pretty big presence for a number of years. So I'm the executive director and oversee operations for Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. We have centers out at Fort McCoy, which is a large training base, and that's where there's a large amount of military. Madison, Joint Force Headquarters for the National Guard. Right here in Milwaukee, there's the 128th Area Fueling Wing. There's a lot of Army, Marine, Navy reservists. So there's a lot of military that might be your neighbors, coworkers, that you might not even realize that are either full-time military or weekend warriors that they train once a month or and twice 2 weeks a year. And National Guard and Reserves have been getting deployed more than ever. They get deployed locally for natural disasters, wildfires. Wisconsin National Guard get deployed for in California, flooding in Florida. When with COVID, they got deployed to go give out vaccinations and do the testing at the polling. When there's civil unrest, they get locally deployed to help with that. And USO is always right there to help support them wherever they are. If they get their grab bag and they go, we provide snacks, drinks, and try to help them and their families wherever they go. And the National Guard and Reserves have also been deployed now more than ever overseas to help backfill for active duty. So they're away from their families a lot through training and local deployments and deployments overseas, putting their lives on the line and making sacrifices. So we want to do whatever we can to make their lives a little bit easier, a little bit more stress-free. Like any job you can imagine, you get pulled a lot of directions, but also, I mean, their lives are being put on the line. So there's higher levels of stress, depression, suicide, and that's where USO can come in and provide that relaxation and that connectivity to home. And one of the ways we found that have worked is through gaming. We have a lot of other programmings. K9 is also a new program that we have, just another way to provide military a way to relax. We do reading programs where we have a service member record reading a book, and then we give that video and the book to their kids so they have that nighttime story and that connection to their parent while they're gone. Coming up, we have programs around the holidays, like this holiday program where we provide food, snacks, games, activities, Santa Claus. It's a free event for military to come to, and they get to be with a relaxing environment with other military and just get to reconnect with their families after they've been gone for a long time. There's a deployment coming up on Christmas Eve. There's a deployment coming up, and we try to be there for the families while their loved one. It's a very stressful time for the families and the loved one, and we just try to be there and help support them. And so that's really at the heart of what USO does. It's really trying to help military relax, whether they're traveling through the airport, and we have a center at the airport for them to go and relax, or it's connecting to their families. And so we nationally and globally, we have a gaming event. There's a Madden tournament where the winner gets to go to the Super Bowl. And that just kicked off recently. And that's a streaming virtual event that takes place. But we're trying to figure out what we can do here locally. We appreciate being part of the event with MKE Alliance recently, where we got to have 2 service members come and compete. We set up a USO table, got to meet a lot of contacts. We found some volunteers who are going to help us with some future events. And that's what we're really trying to figure out is where's our place here in Wisconsin? What's the need that military might have to blow off some steam, relax, meet some other service members, sharing some similar experiences, and also for the spouses too, and how can they connect with other spouses going through a similar thing. One of our most successful programs is our spouse networking event and baby showers, where women or other spouses who have traveled with their spouse and are in an area where they don't have their support network, their sisters, their aunts, to throw them a baby shower, or to share similar experiences of what they're doing. We try to hold that for them. And so we're hoping gaming can be another avenue for that. We're looking at doing some type of event next year, but we're not professionals here in Wisconsin. We have a very small staff in Wisconsin of 4 employees, and none of us could hold a gaming tournament by ourselves. So we don't have the equipment necessarily. We don't have the knowledge and how to do it. So we're looking for groups to partner with that might have the equipment or the knowledge to help kind of put together that type of program. And what works best are programs where it's just military going and hanging out with other military. But if there's an event that is already in place where we could have a military division or register military separately, I think that there's possibilities for making that kind of thing happen as well. So I'm very open to the group of any ideas and suggestions of how we can help gaming. We already dabble in gaming at our airport center and Fort McCoy Center, where we have some gaming systems. And we try to provide that escape while they're traveling onto a deployment or training before deployment at Fort McCoy. But again, it's basically just they come in and play, and it's up to them to do it. The last thing I'll mention is we have rapid response gaming kits, which is this large box with 8 Nintendo Switches in it. And we try to bring that to remote areas of the state or remote areas of training areas where we can bring that to them and set up tournaments. But again, we haven't really set up the best way on how to manage that and how to encourage a military to use it and use it in a good way of setting up a tournament or something like that. So I'll stop there and open it up for questions or suggestions or collaborations that anybody might have with the group.
Yeah. No, thanks, Josh. Thanks for that, for the outline. I think when we first connected, obviously USO is an international organization, which is super cool. What's cool about what Josh and his team do is they're here for Wisconsin, right? They're serving our members here, which I think the localization of that is very cool. And so, you know, I think the idea of being able to come alongside for tournaments or, you know, figuring out ways where they might be able to bring community together is the challenge, at least that I feel like is present. I'm sure some of you have heard what he just described and had a light bulb moment of, oh, have you considered this? So maybe Josh, if you want to drop your email in the chat as well, you know, please reach out. I've heard nothing but encouragement from groups who have come in and had this segment and spoken. They've all at least had a couple people reach out and say, hey, have you thought of this? So if you guys heard something there that you're encouraged by, I would ask, please reach out to Josh and let he and his team know maybe your thoughts. You know, the military and gaming is a macro conversation, right, going on right now, whether it's recruitment, whether it's engagement. And so I think there's just a cool opportunity, as we see in whether it's MPS or other communities, for people to bond together. And I love that story about the kits, right? I can imagine that's really impactful to people who receive that. So thank you for you and your team's work. Appreciate everything you do every day. And thank you for being open to the way that gaming might become a part of what you do here locally. I'm optimistic in similar ways as we've seen, whether it's MPS or others, that we can hopefully be a leader in some of the things that we do. Because I know, as you said, the USO is everywhere. Hopefully we can create something impactful here in Wisconsin that others can lean upon and have, you know, impact to their folks as well. So that's great. Well, we'll go to the next because we have story time, and I know you guys are always so awesome by sticking around. I'm trying to keep these a little shorter just because, you know, I love talking to you all day, but you're busy professionals. But thank you to Josh for that. Story time next, friends. We have a new member of our esports community here in Wisconsin, and he's coming in from Marian University. Trace Ruttman is joining us today for the story time portion. For those who may not know, story time is a chance to hear from someone new and someone who's doing cool things and find out how in the world did you get from there to here. So Trace, welcome, my friend. Glad to have you. Let the folks know what you're doing and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Trace. Thanks for having me. I am the new head coach at Marian University. Just wanted to talk about kind of my journey in gaming and esports and things like that. So to kind of start off, so I'm 22. I recently graduated from Calvin University. So I'm kind of new in the esports arena. Back when I first started playing video games, I started on the PSP, the DSi, the Wii, things like that. It was miniclips.com if anyone played that. So video games were kind of like a big part of my life growing up. And then in high school, I started playing Rainbow Six Siege, which is a popular esports title right now. Rainbow Six Siege was kind of my first venture into like competitive first-person shooters and things like that. Had a lot of fun playing with friends, coming up with strategies and things like that. And then through high school, I started to have a pretty difficult family life. Had some different problems there and divorce and things like that, which led to me having a lot of mental health struggles. Gaming for me then kind of became like a sanctuary for me. It was really cool to have that escape, to be with my friends, to be passionate about something, to compete. That's why I was loving hearing about the development in esports in high schools and middle schools and things like that. I really, really wish that I had that opportunity growing up and things like that, to kind of meet with like-minded people and compete and have those opportunities. So it was really cool to go from that struggle into working in esports now. My freshman year of college, I was playing a lot of video games, and then I was so excited to kind of get out of that toxic environment in my house. And then the pandemic hit. So right when I finally kind of escaped that, I had to go back home. And I will admit, I think video games kind of became more of an unhealthy habit during the pandemic. Yeah, kind of using it as an escape. And then my sophomore year, I came back to school and I was like, I need to turn video games. I'm very passionate about it. I need to turn it into a healthy habit. I need to turn it into something I can develop my leadership skills, communication skills, open opportunities for other people. So I noticed that Calvin had a gaming club that was like super inactive, didn't really do much. So I started working from quarantine in my bedroom, developing an esports team for Calvin. We kind of bootstrapped it with a couple people. We didn't have any computers, we didn't have any equipment, we didn't have any budget. And within a year, we had over 100 members on our esports team. It was kind of crazy because we didn't even have enough teams or like resources to like support all these people and things like that. But the need was there. It was so cool to hear like kind of some testimonies of people. Everyone was in quarantine, no one could hang out or talk. So people were just flying to us because they wanted the opportunity to compete and hang out with their friends and have those things organized for them at the college. So yeah, we grew super fast. My junior year of college, we started competing in the NECC with Valorant and League of Legends. It was so cool to watch my team of silver Valorant players get up to Ascendant and Diamond and things like that. So it was just so amazing to see the impact that I was having on them, giving them, organizing the competitions and things like that, working with the students. Senior year, we were at about 150 people in the esports club there. And finally, the administration, I'd been kind of working with them a lot, agreed that they're like, okay, 150 people, maybe we could like help you out a little bit more. So we started getting a bigger budget, and then they actually hired me to be a part-time head coach, which was really exciting. We started working on developing an esports room, started kind of coming up with ideas for how the future would be in varsity competition and jerseys and all that type of stuff. Then my senior year, I also got to direct a documentary about esports and women in esports. Our Valorant captain was a woman, a female student, and it was super cool to learn more about her experience in esports, how she was affected, her experience in gaming and all that type of stuff. I know there's lots of stereotypes. So it was really cool to share her story with our student population and professors and things like that. And then unfortunately, Calvin decided that they didn't want to go ahead with a full-time coach at Calvin. So I decided to start looking elsewhere. And then Marion reached out to me, gave me the opportunity to come out here to Wisconsin. And so Marion, I'm their first, I believe, full-time coach in a while at least. And it's been super cool to come here and kind of rebuild this program. A lot of dedicated students who, again, really want that opportunity to compete. I've been noticing a lot of stereotypes where, you know, people treat the gaming club or as like less than and things like that. And so it's been super cool to advocate for them and to show off their skills to the administration, and just see them compete is just incredible. They're a great group of people, and it's been super fun to work with them, develop their skills, and so excited to compete and hopefully win some more trophies for them.
I love that. Well, first, thank you for sharing your story. It's, I think, you know, I like to talk, so it's easy for me, but I'm appreciative of people who are willing to come on and just, you know, be vulnerable, talk about their path, because it's a very cool story. And I'm so grateful that you found ways to use gaming in a positive way, maybe understood at times that it might have been what you consider to be unhealthy, and then you pivoted to making it positive. I like that. To me is one of the things, as I've gotten the chance to go around and evangelize and talk about the genre, that are always those that may not be as deep in it as most of us would say, are you concerned about these things? Or I perceive this, and right. And it's so, I think, important to be able to talk to all of it because it's all present. So I just wanted to say thank you for being willing to share your story, because I think that's really impactful. One of the other things I like is the coach here today was from, I want to say, Indiana, and you moved. So it's kind of cool how we're getting all this out-of-state talent when you talk about a state trying to attract some of the best. So thanks for coming to the Cheeseland State. What are you excited about? I mean, what kind of has been your experience thus far? And what are you like stoked for as you kind of get into that inaugural season and inaugural start of you as the head coach?
Yeah, so yeah, our team's starting the NEC season right now. They're doing really well. Really excited to do work with them. Something I'm working on right now is starting a broadcasting room so we can do some casting here for streams and allow the students' families and friends to watch from home and things like that. And then probably the biggest thing that I'm working on more long term is kind of like a mentorship program. I want some of the local high schoolers and middle schoolers to be able to come to our esports practices, work with the students, see what esports is about, see if that's a path for them, give them a comfortable space in our esports room to be able to come to after school or to practices and things like that, feel welcome, get the chance to compete in esports. Because back at Calvin, we had a lot of people that were competing on like Apple laptops that they'd like downloaded like pirate software so they could download Steam and stuff like that. So to give some middle schoolers and some high schoolers the opportunity to compete on state-of-the-art machines and things like that and start building their brand and esports experiences, it's going to be something really exciting.
Cool. Well, congrats on the new gig. We're excited to have you here in Wisconsin. Maybe if you haven't, just drop your email in the chat. Again, easy way for people to connect. It's cool to me. I think as we've seen the collegiate space continue to evolve, and you have a dedicated professional, you have a dedicated coach, it's a critical part of sustained success. So I'm very excited for you all. Excited to work more with you as you build out your program. But thanks again. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing. It's great to, thanks for sharing your documentary as well for people who want to check that out. It's meaningful work. Cool. Well, friends, I think we've gotten close to, if not the end of our Q3 community Zoom. I'm always so grateful to see everyone. As I said, it's been awesome being here at WCTC. We might have to take this show on the road a couple more times. Who knows? But I'm excited to maybe go sit down, play a little Smash Bros. Because we've got our big event coming up and I don't want to get killed too badly. I'm going to be called an O-Tour. That's what people are called in Smash who lose immediately and have to go home. That's what I would be. So thank you all for being here. Great to see your faces. We'll get the recording out following this. And as always, appreciate the effort everyone's doing in the gaming and general business ecosystem. That we have some media on today. But thank you all for everything you do. And until next time, take it easy.
Thanks, Brent.
See you.